So let's begin for today's Zoomuse event with Illia Thompson. I hope some of you have had a chance to listen or watch Illia's little teaser video that I recorded with her earlier, where she talked about her life and about her love affair with poetry and writing and mentoring others. She's had a full life. She was born in Portugal. Her parents had fled the Nazis. And when she was 6, the family emigrated to New York. She grew up in northern New York and then studied education. And through her life, she's taught all through, from kindergarten, I guess, through schools to community college to giving open courses in community centers and senior centers. She is a published poet. She's published a lot of work. And what I find very impressive is that she's helped people, encouraged people, and mentored people in terms of their publishing their own works. So she told me when I did the interview with her that there was about 100 different books that she could claim to have had some part in getting the writer and encouraging them to move forward with their own project. And that's quite an accomplishment. So congratulations to that. So that's enough of me talking about Illia. I'll let her say whatever else she wants to say. And I'm going to turn it over to Illia. Go ahead when you're ready.
I'm ready. And I'm so glad nobody chose to become a blank space, because it's a wonderful feeling that I can see all of you. What I did, I have a lot of poems and I got some together and then I sorted them out. And I speak about my poetic life, about my different times in my life. And I was looking for something humorous, but the very last poem you have to wait for. It's really humorous. I don't have a lot of humor, but I have poems that I think you'll enjoy. And I call this Continuous Journey. With constant faithfulness, years added upon years, decades pile atop decades, I reach an age I used to call old. Now my children stand upon nearly 6 decades, while I sense not remembered old as observed during my youth. Today I drift into aging, ask quiet to become a friend, reside among matured memories while being passionately present. I feel a summer fruit, still ripening inside my skin and mellowing my heart during my continuous journey. Okay, I have a lot about autumn because I feel as though I'm in the autumn of my life, and also autumn has been very evident. And this one I call Reacquainting, and it's a recent poem. In autumn, the lull of loneliness appears more frequently, requests balance to be assuaged by the gift of remembrances. As I view anew writings from the past, penned through lace of years, I look into the mirror of my words, surprised to gaze at myself as friend. These many selves endowed with emotions, often transcribed in black on white, and were they colored red, could be viewed as scarlet blood drawn from vibrant veins. There is comfort in recollections, announcing family and friendships, times of love and the energy of conflict, may lead to unexpected grace. Autumn whispers of impending chill, nudges preparation for gathering fuel, stoked by caring, honors blankets of connection and tells family story, tales to ward off desolation. The art of nestling into memory's place, triggered by scents and sounds and words, placed on paper to note collected lore, tempers awaiting waves of loneliness. And this is written a while ago. My aunt is no longer with me, but I loved what happened here. It's called Create the Power of Story. Aunt Clara, at 80, writes her 25-page autobiography, admits coyly that she enjoys reading it over and over again. And is this not with us all the desire to make us whole, to pat and shape and touch over and over that which becomes our lives? And the words I place on lines of blue on pages of white take their form. Some shy poems that stretch along borders, others intricate paragraphs that hold hands and dance their stories as though no one had ever told that enticing tale before. Simple sentences stir memories from the bottom of my mind, float them upward to again feel the warmth of the sun and the brightness of light, a breath of brilliance after decades of profound darkness. And as I gather words, which one next to the other form the fabric of my life, one which I can stroke to know the material which is me, I find fullness. And like Aunt Clara, I can enjoy reading my life, no matter how difficult, over and over again. Let's see. I have some more about writing, but I think I've gotten to that. Okay, I'm going to go now upon two poems that I wrote during the pandemic. Specifically, that would not have happened had it not been the pandemic. The poem would not have happened. Okay, Alchemist. I gather fresh carrots, onions, yesterday's chicken bones, remainder of Sabbath dinner. Place all in a pot, add cold water, ignite flame, await the birth of broth. To continue a gathering of worth, I add parsley, salt, black pepper, stir all for a silent blessing, all in quiet, studied preparation of balm to soothe pain. Ache of muscles, tired selves, also discomfort of unknown future, where charted paths no longer exist to guides one travel through time, to reach the place of knowing. I lift the lid of the vessel to view becoming soup and stir with wooden spoon all contents, pretend to hurry the process of creation. Yet I know time takes itself along an easy gait, boils slowly as it travels toward perfection, knows the sense of waiting to be part of the completion. Carefully taking broth onto a spoon, tasting deeply, closing my eyes to know if salt or pepper is needed, or a splash of wine or lemon juice might perfect this ritual soup. I serve this symbolic, nourishing brew placed on dinner tables so often by my ancestors. Though no recipe exists, it is clearly written in my aging bones, part of my heritage, the power to heal. Good old soup. And this is a poem that was published locally. As you may know, we all had fires here in the area, and one of my dear friends, her house burned down completely, and she is still a harpist, and all her harps, she had 5 harps lying beside her piano, and she took a quick picture before she left as the smoke came in and they all burned up. There was nothing left. So I wrote this for her. Being in the midst of smoke, not yet of rampant fire, I hold others' lives changed beyond their desire. Flames become as dragons' tongues, eating all within their path. No safety from glowing mouths, piled with forceful wrath. Downing with speedy greed without discrimination, mementos of days gone by into complete devastation. My heart plays a eulogy for my friends' musical tools. With ease of devastation, harps became dragons' jewels. To take beloved instruments as decorations of the day, which swiftly turn to ashes, fires continue to playfully sway. Melted beloved instruments into puddles of molten metal. Piano's wooden frame, burned to ashes, quickly settle. No lives taken at homestead, yet fire's meal incomplete. Flames swallow voraciously, continue with their treat. The night fills with roaring, the hungry noise of fire, until hunger almost sated, the intruder leaves to retire. Yet music will return, talented fingers will strum, other awaiting instruments surely soon will come. The day will be filled with music, no more flames will consume, when talent again displayed and joy is yet to come. No matter how great the tragedy, gratitude still does arise. Gladness of spirit and friendships will certainly continue to thrive. And sometimes a poem goes beyond its intention. This was published in a local paper, and someone gave Linda his harp that he hadn't played in a while. So while she was in a motel with her family, she said the next evening she sat out on the porch there and played her harp. So sometimes they go beyond the intention and other things happen because of what you write. And then I'm going back a little bit, a few years for my granddaughter, who is now in her 30s. And I was able to know her really well, as at that time I was helping a lot with my daughter's children who lived in the area. And she was a dancer, and now she teaches dance. And she also dances for Arletta. She enters the stage, audience hushes. Her dancer's body unfolds, becomes a song in motion, held by ancient threads, prolonged protection. A ritual dance that flows as surely as the blood that ignites her young body, carries oxygen to spark the internal fire, allows her smallness to cast a shadow that fills the building, then squeezes itself out into the darkness to merge with the night. This expanded largeness visits her only in dance, folds itself into itself at other times, an ordinary reflection of youth. But when music and movement hold hands, the holy abounds, as nourishing as manna. And then I had a cat. I was not one a lot for animals, but this cat was special. And this is what I wrote to my cat, called Bakira, black cat. Years before yesterday, your ancestors, Egyptian-born, watched over royalty. Today, you rest regally on white velvet pillowed sofa, spending your inheritance. And then my husband passed away from cancer and took that journey with him. And I think I'll switch these two poems. Well, no, they'll not be in order. Towards the end of his life, I was sitting with him, and there's a call this query. I wrote a whole book about it, but I took this poem out. Sounds from cooling fan and machine that pulls fluids from body, no longer able to manage on its own. Next to his bed I sit, note far away, look in his eyes, and he asks, what parents shall I choose? I recall the night our son came to us, and I reply, why not two people who love each other dearly and live in the country? Quietly he speaks. Not a bad idea, as morphine sleep again keeps him a while longer. And this is our son experience while his father was in the process of leaving. I think this is one of my favorite poems. Luncheon for two. Two, seated at a table for four. My son and I order boxed lunches. Sushi and sashimi mine, sushi and tempura his. Our hands embrace small, warm ceramic cups. We sip green velvet soft tea. Allow heat to slide across our tongues onto our throats. Swallows of solace. My throat is sore, he states. Mine too, I agree. From crying too much, I ask. Deep jade eyes stare into mine as he replies, maybe from not crying enough. We taste tender food, soup, rice, fish, easily enter our spirit. Maybe ages ago, we sat across the table, obtained sustenance in time of need from broth and grains and harvest from the sea. Here's a poem about happiness. Happiness arrives on the wings of chance. No need to prepare for an invited guest. Happiness enters on its own timetable, leaves traces of presence after its visit. When happiness has been long missing, its absence only fairly noticed. At times, as rays of sudden sunshine, happiness touches to decorate my existence. When unexpected happiness arrives, I become an open heart of welcome. Happiness, accented by light, laughter, removes darkness during uncertainty. And serendipity, its close cousin, finds me often, a reminder of grace. Okay, and this is a little bit of parts of something called Liquid Time, which is a book that Herman, is he still there? That Herman and I are still working on. And it's going to have his wonderful art and one poem of his and a little of my painting and my poetry. Speaking of love in later years, but we call it Liquid Time because one day we were looking at the ocean and it just felt like liquid time. It gave us the title. Affinity. A closed heart begins to open, a sliver of warmth arrives, softened edges sealed by loss. A small saline tear accepts awaiting heat. Light once absent enters anew, gently lifts edge of darkness. Child's play knows no age. Delight in serendipity, comfort and shared silence. And this is called Rest, also part of the poem. Okay. We rest with regularity of long ago times when respite offered revival after toil. Without structure formally offered, we now lie down, allow the stretch of minds and bodies to elongate thoughts as weight lifted by repose dissolves burdens into warm spring-scented air. And we hold each other with tenderness of old as parents and children must have done earlier in our elongated lives, and we nestle into each other as silent dreams waft about. Allow us the ease of being. Occasional memories of lovers, former joyous lives, whisper grace while senses stirred announce elation now present, while we find friendship a bond to hold ourselves together, as unexpected threads weave ties to hold us well in the place of now. Love redefined, refined, newly found. I could wish no other. And then, this is one that was just a few lines say so much. This was, we went on an outing with the senior center to visit Hakone Gardens, which is Japanese gardens in the Bay Area, which was just a lovely trip. During the bus ride home, he offers me a tangerine, takes one for himself. I begin to peel this orb. Before I'm finished, he hands me his, ready to eat, a tray to illuminate caring as sunset begins its offerings. Okay, doing okay with time? I have time for one more?
I don't want this to stop, Illia. Keep going. Yeah, we've got what? We'll give you another 5 minutes. How's that?
Okay, I have one more poem. Okay, it's called Late Love. This is the one that has humor in it. And it happened before the pandemic, a little bit before the pandemic. You got to remember that. It's a clue. Slowly, ever so slowly, we begin to nestle into the comfort of each other as time melts and our voices echo our own thoughts. Holding arms while ambling coastline, holding hands as box music fills theater, smiling a lot, noting our emerging caring. We speak of common threads with memories of our foreign beginnings, becoming citizens, offer wisdom gained from loss of loved ones. I fondly know our love is true as he presents me with exactly half a Costco package of Kleenex, sturdy square boxes generously shared, love wrapped in cellophane. I couldn't believe the gift, you know, and then the pandemic and you can get Kleenex, I had enough. So it was foreshadowing it. Anyhow, thank you for letting me read to you. I appreciate it, and thank you for your presence. There's mi auntie now. Oh, she came at the end. Oh, she could. Hi, mi auntie, you came.
Well, thank you, Illia. That was wonderful.
That's Montana. It's Montana. This came.
Yeah. So now we're going into a Q&A period. If people would like to respond to Illia, to comment on any of the poems or to ask questions about them. And at the moment, you're all muted. And I can't unmute you. So when you want to speak, if you would just sort of wave your hand and then move your cursor down to the bottom left of your Zoom screen, and a row of cursors will appear. And the one on the far left is a microphone cursor. And when you click on that, it will unmute you. It will mute or unmute you depending on whether you're muted or not right now. So for those who aren't familiar with Zoom, that's basically how it works. So we're ready for comments or questions. And who would like to go first? Cecilia Wadi, please go ahead.
Oh, well, Illia, is that the right way to pronounce your name?
Oh, it has everything from Elijah on down, but people call me Illia, who know me.
Illia, okay.
Yeah.
Accent on the second syllable, got it.
Yes.
Okay, Illia. Now, there was something that I didn't write it down, but it touched me. And it was to do with, it was in the second half, and it was to do with comfort in a shared silence or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I felt quite moved by that. Is that the right, are those the right words?
Yes, I think it is. Yeah, I allude to that in several places, but that is the right word. It's definitely the right feeling. So I'm glad that you could resonate with that. That always is good. Someone can resonate with what you're saying and can bring it into their own lives and clarify. Yeah, it's wonderful to see all your faces. And yeah. And I do have some of my students, I'm still doing some Zoom classes through this time, and some of my students are poetically very good. And some of them get little chapbooks together, others get fancy books together. And for me, just reading through these, and I hope that those of you who have written, that you revisit your work, because you're worth revisiting. You know, you find out things about yourself that help you. It's not been an easy time these months, figuring out what it's all about, or what I'm all about. And some days go really, really quickly, and other days seem to be like a week. You know, you just never know what's going to happen in terms of how I feel about what's going on. So I hope that you're all well. Halima, yay!
Hi, Halima, go ahead.
So I took particular delight in the story you told about Aunt Clara.
Yes.
The poem about Aunt Clara. I love that she kept rereading it. I mean, the whole image was delighted me.
Yes.
Just a sense of her pleasure in a kind of a fulfilled life.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was one of my earlier poems. I helped her get those 25 pages together. And
Good.
And then she said it was almost like a daily revisit. You know, she was old, and at that time, 80 was really old.
I know, right? Oh my God. And the other, I just wanted to just comment on a couple. So the poem for Arleta. I love that poem, and there was an image there that really caught me, and I'm not sure if I got it right, but it seemed like it. Okay.
Okay,
So
I can
it
read
was
it
the
again.
image. It was the image. Somewhere in the beginning of the poem of when she was dancing, her shadow. I think this is what you were getting at. Her shadow merged with the darkness to sort of form a big, big shadow.
Yeah, to cast a shadow that fills the building and
That's right. That's
squeezes
right.
itself out into the darkness to
Yeah,
merge.
that was. Thank you. That's beautiful. Beautiful. I love that.
She's turned out to be wonderful. I mean, they all are, you know, thank goodness for progeny.
It's interesting to me. I mean, you've introduced me to people in your life through
Yeah.
these poems,
Yeah.
and I get a real sense, like I get a sense of Herman. Hi,
That's
Herman. I get a sense of Hamid when you were reading the poem about him, and
Yeah.
certainly Aunt Clara and Arletta. So that's
Yeah.
very,
Well,
very, very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, dear friend.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments?
I'd like to offer a comment, if I may, Illia.
Yes, of course.
I was particularly struck by the poem about autumn and the imagery, yeah. And I don't know if it's because I'm in the autumn of my life as well, but the imagery of collecting and gathering up parts,
Yeah.
gleaning, I have this, it struck me very forcefully. So thank you very much. It's very evocative. Very
Well,
evocative.
thank you. All kinds of different things. So we're anxious to get our book out. We'll let you know when it comes out.
Yeah.
And, okay, well, thank you all for being here.
I think
Yes,
Eva wants to say something. Eva, go ahead.
You have to unmute yourself.
There, you're
Okay.
unmuted now.
Yay.
Go ahead.
Okay,
I
yes.
just I liked your poem about happiness because I feel like you're finally happy again, which is nice.
Oh, thank you. That's my sister.
Oh, yeah?
My legal younger sister.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think we all go in and out of happiness, don't we, during our lives? It becomes kind of a dip in and out of it. Hopefully we can learn to really dip into it more frequently as we get older.
Can I speak? Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say I really enjoyed listening to your poetry,
Thank you.
Illia. Every poem went inside me, and I'm not ready yet to make any comments about specific ones, but for me, it just worked. It was a quiet joy. So thank you for that. On a more general note, we hope to keep going with Zoomuse. We got 2 or 3 poets, sort of specific poets lined up. Andrew and I'd like to say that Andrew came in on this and has really been a tower of strength in keeping this thing going. Next year, one of the plans that we talked about, or the ideas, was the possibility of having a Zoomuse, which is a themed Zoomuse. For example, we might have 3 or 4 poets reading their poems about peace, or reading their poems about the natural world, or reading their poems about children. So that's one of the ideas that's floating around. Another thing that's going on is that I'm currently working on an anthology of poems by people who have read on Zoomuse so far. So I should be contacting you, Illia, asking you for some poems for this book, which I hope to get done by Christmas. And I think it'll be published on Lulu. I've got about 13 poets so far. I have realized that there is a saying that working with Subud members is like herding cats. And I realized that an extension of that working with Subud poets is like herding feral cats. But anyway, and I'm happy about it. And I think that's all. Yes, that's all from me.
How many poems do you want from each person?
Sushilawati, I got some poems from you already, so thank you very much. The other thing that struck me is next year. It will be, I think Zoomuse is a precious part. It's become a precious part of my life. We might think about inviting friends who are poets who are not necessarily in Subud, and having them do readings, 20 minutes, half an hour or so. I think that would be kind of neat, just to kind of broaden the spectrum a little bit. So, any questions, anybody?
Well, I just wonder how many poems would you be wanting from each reader, approximately?
I just say 3 or 4 average length poems. Some people are sending me 2 or 3 for about 2 pages. Other poets have sent me, one poet sent me 10 poems and said, take your pick.
That's good.
Feral cat issue.
Well, I think
Another thing, it struck me about this Zoomuse thing that traditionally poetry was always oral. So in a sense, technology, contemporary technology has enabled us to return to an ancient root of our culture, oral poetry. So that's all from me. Unless you want a riddle. Do you want a riddle? Can I tell you a riddle?
Of course.
Right, that's too bad.
Short one. I fall and I fall and I fall and I stay where I am. What am I?
The
I
thermometer.
fall and I fall, I fall and I stay where I am. What?
Leaves.
Waterfall.
Think Yosemite. For those who
yeah.
are familiar with Yosemite.
Somebody said waterfall.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I said waterfall.
Waterfall. That's it.
Yeah.
Waterfall. Thank you. Okay, Amelia Williams, you can stop talking now.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Leanne, did you want to say something? You had your hand up, I think. No? Okay. Thanks very much.
I'm so sorry I was late, but I ever so much enjoyed it. So I will go on YouTube after and see the first half. It was really touching and lovely. Makes me want to write more poetry.
Yes.
Hearing Illia.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Anything goes. You can write a poem, just have pen and paper ready. When you have an idea, just put it down and you never know, it may be a poem. They arrive. I can't plan.
Yes, I think so. They do arrive like that. You're correct.
Yeah.
Get them down.
Yeah.
Illia, if you'd like to share the text of your poems that you've read today, we can append that to the YouTube video so people can see it. It's up to you.
So how do I get them to you?
Just email them to me. Can you do a cut and paste into an email?
I can do some of them. How's that? If I give you a sampling?
Sure, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm sure people would love to see them in text as well.
The end game of that is that there will be a compilation of all of these together at some point, right? That's why they're being collected.
That's right. Emmanuel's and I I'm trying to help him, is preparing a compendium of the Zoomuse poets to date. Okay. Each poet will have a couple of pages of their poems and a bio, and depending on whether, I'm not sure what else, but yeah.
I just want to say that it's really heartwarming to have an audience and to feel that my words might be of use, of joy, of enlightenment in some way, even of connection. Just take a time for creativity to just find its own place. So I really thank you all for being here. And I thank you so much for your help and being pretty good listeners. There weren't any
Very good
stray things going on. So I thank you. And I will also let you know when my book comes out.
Thank you very much, Illia.
Okay, our book.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
The video of this recording should be up by Monday on the Facebook pages and on the SICA YouTube channel. As I said before, the SICA YouTube channel is public. So just do a search on YouTube for Subud International Cultural Association and Zoomuse, which, as you Americans say, it is ZOOMUSE. Here in Canada, we call it ZOOMUSE. So do a search. That's a word which is unique to SICA and this continuing series of poetry readings by Subud poets.
Who is the next person on the agenda?
Well, we're not quite sure, but we will have, I think, have a poet. It'll be 2 weeks from today on December 4th. And the teaser video should be posted by next Friday. So there'll be lots of notice for that. So watch for it, folks. And I hope you're able to come back and make it. And for those of you, I know that in the audience, there's several people who show up every week or every Zoomuse event. We're now doing them twice a month. And it's great to see you, but we'd love to hear your poetry. We'd love to, and if you don't want to read it yourself, either you or us can make arrangements to have somebody else read it for you if you're not comfortable.
I'd be willing to read your poetry if you have poetry that you'd like to be on this show, but you're too shy, too timid, whatever, to read it yourself. I would be willing to do that. No charge involved.
We just have to buy your book.
So there you go, folks. Is there anybody else who wants to make a comment at the end? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just going to say that's a generous offer, Emmanuel. And even though I'm not shy, I like to have one voice at a time, so that I can take it in.
I do want to say, as much as I really appreciate the offer to have somebody else read your work, there's a real gift in giving voice to your own work.
Yeah.
If you can do that.
Yeah. It's really for those people who, for whatever reason, don't feel comfortable reading their own.
Right.
We certainly encourage that, Illia. If they aren't comfortable doing that, we'd like to have anybody read them.
Of course.
The idea is to share them.
Get the word out there.
We want people to feel comfortable. This should be a safe space, and it should nourish our inners to participate in either as a reader or as a listener at the Zoomuse events.
Okay, well, I do want to thank you all.
Thank you.
So I guess that's it for now, folks. So thanks so much. Rosanna, did you want to say anything? No, just say goodbye? Okay.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye for now, folks.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
you.
You guys.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Illia.
Thank you.
Thank you.